Well, hello YouTube, it's Bev here, and I thought in this video I would just share with you my experience of what it's like to be a YouTube creator, a woman in her late 50s, nearly 60, who came to this whole YouTube content creation thing very late in life, and just give you an idea of some of the things that I've learned in the last couple of years having a YouTube channel, the good bits, the bad bits, what I would do again if I was starting afresh, and I guess why I think YouTube is such a brilliant platform, whether it's because you have a business and you're wanting to use it as a marketing channel for your business, or just as a way to leave a legacy for your future generations. I've got a 9-year-old granddaughter. She thinks it's so cool that her grandma is a YouTuber. I'm not quite sure I'd call myself a YouTuber, but I guess by definition, if I've got a channel on YouTube, I guess that makes me a YouTuber. But she thinks it's absolutely brilliant that, Nanny's got a YouTube channel. So whatever the reasons for getting started on YouTube, I thought I would just share my experiences, and hopefully if you're a woman in later life, or a man for that matter, but obviously I'm only talking from my experience as a midlife woman. If you're sat on the fence about whether or not you should get started with a YouTube channel, hopefully this video will either inspire you to go ahead and do it, or at least give you some of the realities of what it actually takes. Now, at the time of recording this, my channel is still very small. I think it's got something like 534 subscribers, something like that. So it's not big, and it's taken a while to get just to this point. But I'm going to share whether I think it's been worth it or not. So sit back and let me share my story and hopefully inspire you to go out and do this as well. So I thought I'd start with why I got started with YouTube in the first place, because I have to say up until a few years ago, YouTube wasn't really something that I used that much, whereas now I find that I use YouTube all of the time. It's my main source of entertainment. I watch more YouTube videos than I do Netflix or other TV channels. I have some vloggers that I watch that I really look forward to seeing their content every week or every month or whenever it comes out. I just find that there's something about following somebody's real life, not like reality TV, which is always sort of hyped, I find. I don't really do reality TV, but watching people share their journey on YouTube just feels much more authentic and real. So I started probably using YouTube as an entertainment source as well as an educational source probably about 18 months ago, but I've used it ever since I started my business 6 years ago. I've used it as a means to find out how to do stuff. So if ever I had a tech challenge or needed to learn how to do something, I would go to the University of YouTube, as I always called it, because that's where I always found it didn't matter what it was I was looking for. I could generally 99% of the time find what I was looking for. But I didn't ever consider having a YouTube channel myself. Not really. I think my son showed me how to upload a YouTube video about 5 or 6 years ago, but it was more because I was working with some clients and it was an easy way to share a video. If I'd done something and I wanted them to have access to it, it was easy to do that. But my channel wasn't public. I would just send them an unlisted video. And I didn't ever think of it as a serious tool for my business. And then it must be, 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, I was getting some business support from our local authority, and they allocated me a business mentor, a lady called Jo, and she was brilliant. And she was working with me for about 4 or 5 months. And one of the things she said was, you're doing educational content for your business. I was delivering corporate training. She said, and I was talking about menopause. And she said, you need to get on YouTube. You need to be sharing this on YouTube. And I didn't really understand why. And she said, YouTube is evergreen content. So if you create a useful educational video around menopause, people will be able to see it and learn from you. But even then, it wasn't really a business tool. I never thought of it as a marketing tool. It was more just a way to share information. So I did, like a good student, I did what I was told. And I started making some content to upload, and it was literally a recording on Zoom into my, I did have a decent microphone, decent-ish microphone. I had a Blue Yeti because I'd been podcasting, so I'd bought the microphone for podcasting, but I didn't have a decent camera. I think I had a very cheap webcam, and I didn't have a clue how to film anything. I didn't have a clue how to edit anything. So I would literally sit in front of a Zoom screen and hit record, and I would talk for maybe 10-15 minutes into the Zoom recording, download it, chop the ends off and upload it, and that was it. That was all I did, really. And I made probably, I don't know, 24 of those types of videos, and did my channel art. I remember learning how to do my channel art, so that was quite interesting. That was sort of the start of the journey. I didn't have a clue about how to do thumbnails. I didn't understand about SEO. I didn't understand about titles or descriptions or anything like that. I didn't know how to optimize the videos at all. And I basically posted and then just forgot about them. And alongside that journey, my brother was building a YouTube channel all about photography. You can, if you're interested in photography, go and have a look at his channel. It's called He's That Micro Four Thirds Guy. And he was building his channel, and I thought it was really interesting because his was growing quite steadily. And basically all he was doing, he wasn't really doing anything fancy with his YouTube channel. A lot of it was product reviews and just getting, sitting in his car talking to the screen, and he was getting this community, this following. And it made me go back and have a little look at my YouTube channel, and I was amazed, if I'm honest, because one of the videos that I'd recorded had got something like 22,000 views. And I mean, that's still big for me. I mean, I've never hit that on any other video. And what was really interesting was that video was all about vaginal dryness, and I'm never quite sure whether it was a subject that absolutely everybody was really interested in, or whether it was just people, going online looking for the rude words. I don't know, but it had got to about 22,000 views without me doing anything, and that really got me thinking that actually there's something in this. But I was totally inconsistent. As I say, I did about 24 videos at the most. I think the channel had kind of organically in the background got up to about 350, 360 subscribers. And in the kind of the journey of how-to videos that I was watching, I'd come across a guy called Justin Brown from Primal Video, and he does some really great basic sort of beginner video stuff. So learning how to kind of take those Zoom videos, download them from Zoom and chop them up a little bit so you didn't have the beginning and the end bits where I was like looking around, looking lost. He taught me how to do that from his YouTube channels. He's a brilliant channel. If you're just getting started, it's one I would definitely go and subscribe to and follow. And I started just sort of, getting a little bit more interested in this whole YouTube thing. And I was watching Primal Video, and he was talking about his membership called Primal Video Accelerator. That kind of piqued my interest because I thought, well, I'm playing around with this. I would like to do something with it, but I don't really know what to do. I'd also, I've just remembered actually, started another a secondary channel that I was going to be talking about like cruises and travel, and it was going to be more of a vlog style channel. I was kind of, I've got these two channels. In the meantime, my business direction had changed. I wasn't teaching about menopause anymore. I was teaching business. Anyway, I was a bit confused, a bit lost, and I joined the Primal Video Accelerator program because I knew I wanted more help. And after a couple of weeks of really diving into the Primal Video trainings, I started to realise just how much I didn't know. And in some ways, that's not great, because when you start to learn something, you have this level of unconscious incompetence whereby you don't know what you don't know. And then you start to learn a little bit and you start to become conscious of your incompetence. And when I first started with Primal Video, I realised how consciously incompetent I was. And I suddenly had this realisation that this was going to be a really steep learning curve. But I was interested to learn more, so I stuck with it. And I had a bit of a quandary because I had this channel that was all about menopause with an audience that was all about menopause, and now I was trying to start in a different direction and I didn't know what to do with my audience. I tried to change my YouTube channel from a personal channel to a business channel, and in doing so I did something wrong and I lost everything. I lost everything. My videos gone, my analytics gone, my 22,000 views gone. And despite trying my best to get it all back, getting in touch with YouTube through Twitter, because I couldn't find out how else to get in touch with them, it just failed. And I was back to square one, and I was devastated, if I'm honest. And then I kind of took a step back and thought, well, actually, maybe this is the universe telling me I need to start from scratch and learn this thing properly. So that's what I started to do. And I think that was probably February or March 2023. So just over a year ago. And I can't tell you how much I've learned in that time. It's been a brilliant, brilliant time. And it's been a really challenging time as well. And in this video, I'm going to start with the good stuff. Then I'm going to share some of the not so good stuff. And then I will share a little bit about what I would do differently if I was starting again. And it's possibly going to be a bit of a long video. I will try and stay as concise as I can, but it feels like quite a big story to get through. So if you're bored and you're not interested, that's fine. It's not going to be for everybody. But if you are interested, stick around, because who knows, my lessons might just save you a little bit of time in the long run. Who knows? Okay, so let's start with the good bits. I'll leave the bad bits, or the not so good bits, for later. But the good bits, there are lots and lots of good bits. The good bits are, there is an incredibly great YouTube community. I joined Primal Video Accelerator, and the community in there is just brilliant. Everybody's so supportive. It doesn't matter whether you're a big creator or a small creator. I don't know how many followers and subscribers Primal Video have got. I think it's well over 1.5 million, maybe. I probably should have a look. But you never feel silly that you're just getting started. And I think that's because, everybody, I think, that starts a YouTube channel goes through the same challenges. Even if you come into this with video editing skills or filmmaking skills, there's a whole load of stuff that you still have to learn. So everybody starts as a newbie, and there's this real sort of egalitarian feel about it, like we're all in this together, and the level of community support is just brilliant. I've reached out to people on YouTube. I've used their YouTube channel. I've gone and found their website and reached out, or found them on Instagram and messaged them to chat about their journey, to invite them onto my podcast. And there's just this overwhelming sense of we're all in this together. And I don't think there's another social channel anyway that has that same level of supportive community, at least not that I've found. Probably the nearest I've got to it is LinkedIn. And funnily enough, LinkedIn and YouTube are my two marketing channels of choice anyway. It's where I spend most of my time. Matt, who put together Tube Fest this year, the first Tube Fest in the UK, in Birmingham, I went there for the day, and it was quite scary as an older woman. I was convinced I was probably going to be the oldest person there. I wasn't. I was convinced I was going to be the smallest channel there. I wasn't. And I met people like Nick Nimmin, who's got a huge channel. And when you meet people in person, you realise that they are just human beings. There's something so grounding about it. And it's definitely a community that I want to build. I want to get to know more people who are doing this, because the cheerleading and the support is just outstanding. So that for me has been one of the best bits about the YouTube journey. Another good bit is YouTube is like a creative treasure chest. There are so many ways that you can express your creativity, and it really feels like there aren't any rules. There are rules. Of course, YouTube has rules, but in terms of the creativity, you can experiment and you can try new things, you can play. And for somebody with a creative brain and a novelty-driven brain, that is just fantastic, because it means I can keep trying new things and playing, and it keeps my interest high. I don't get bored, and it's constant learning. I'm also a lifelong learner, so having the ability to try new things and learn new things and play around is just fantastic. And even if you look at some of the big channels, everybody's just trying and experimenting. And it doesn't matter if you're very, very highly polished, high production value, if you've got the best cinematography, the best camera equipment, or if you're literally just your mobile phone following you around, no editing, no heavy production, from one extreme to the other, and still being successful. You've got the really highly polished videos that Mr. Beast puts out there. And then there are other people who are literally just taking you on a journey through their day, and it's not overly produced at all. My brother, as I say, he's built up something like 11,500 subscribers on his YouTube channel. He's got the most gorgeous community. He's got a Patreon channel, and most of his, not most, but many of his videos are just him sitting in his car with a camera, with all his ums and ahs and splutters and stutters, and it really doesn't matter. And I think for me that's one of the most liberating things about YouTube, is that actually you can do your own thing, you can try, you can play around, you can get creative, and I just think that's brilliant. I think one of the other things I've learned about YouTube, and one of the best bits about YouTube, is that it doesn't really matter if you're an entertainer or if you're an educator. There's room for everybody on this channel, and I'm not an entertainer. I don't think I would probably categorize myself as an educator. So I think there are some amazing channels out there that are just very entertaining. There's some great storytellers, and then there are other people who just do a brilliant job of educating and sharing knowledge and information. And I don't think you have to be one or the other. I think you can be both. And again, that comes down to the creativity, I guess, that you can play around and see what feels good. My other channel that I haven't really done much with, the vlogging channel, the travel channel, is fun. It is really, really fun to just try different things and play around. Whereas this channel's much more about sort of education and sharing my business journey. And who knows, it might move into something different. But I think I'm a born educator. I think I'll always be more of an educator than I am a entertainer. But hopefully I'm a little bit entertaining in the way I deliver my education. Let me know in the comments if I'm really not. I can live with the criticism. One of the other best bits about YouTube is that I think it's one of the best platforms possible for entrepreneurs, especially in the service-based industries. I'm sure it's true for products as well, but as a coach and an educator, it's just a brilliant channel or a brilliant platform for raising your profile and sharing what you know, and lead generation. You know, at the end of the day, most of us, I guess not everybody is on YouTube to make money, but when you're going to give up a fair amount of time, and I'll talk a bit more about the time investment when I get into some of the bad bits. If you're going to invest a lot of time, you really want to see some financial return from it. So I think for entrepreneurs, it's a brilliant channel because the content is evergreen. It's searchable. So if somebody's looking for an answer to a question and your service can provide the answer to that question, then having a video about it gives your business the opportunity to get found in search. And you can use YouTube as a top of funnel marketing strategy. In fact, that's the real, I guess, the main purpose of this channel. It's not the only purpose, but is one of the reasons I'm trying to grow the channel, because I want to be able to use it to showcase who I am, who I help, how I help, and to, you know, move people from YouTube onto an email list so I can build relationships. And if I'm the right person to help them with their business growth, then it's a great way to be able to show up as yourself and let people get a feel for whether or not you're the right person for them to work with. And I don't know that there are many platforms that really allow you to do that with such longevity. You know, you can get onto Instagram or TikTok and LinkedIn as well, and you can put videos and posts out there, but they're not searchable in the same way. So unless you get somebody who happens to find you in just the right moment that you've posted, your chances of being found later on are pretty slim. But actually, YouTube means that your potential clients can find you when it's right for them, when they're looking for the answer to the question. You've put the content out there and they can find it at the right time. And then hopefully, you know, they'll be interested enough to join your email list, to find out more about you, to watch some more of your videos, and maybe subscribe to the channel. And maybe that's what you could do now. If you're enjoying this, maybe you could give me a subscribe and a like. It is you know, from an entrepreneurial point of view or a business owner point of view, I think it's one of the best marketing channels out there. And of course, we can't talk about YouTube without talking about YouTube as a revenue generator. And I don't think I realised when I first started my first YouTube channel just how big the creator economy is. You know, there are so many different ways that you can monetize your content. I didn't realise when I first started YouTube that there are thresholds that you have to hit before you can get monetized through advertising on your channel. It's changed in the last year or so, but in essence, to get YouTube to play ads on your videos and give you a percentage commission from those adverts, you have to have a minimum of 1,000 subscribers. I'm not there yet. And you also have to have 4,000 watch hours in a 12-month rolling period. I'm not there yet either. But it's the goal, you know, everybody has that goal of, I need to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can start making money on YouTube. And reality is that AdSense is only one way of making money. So getting paid for, you know, adverts on your videos is only one way. There's things like affiliate revenue. So I'm a member of Primal Video Accelerator, the video program that I've talked about before. And I'm an affiliate for that because it's such a flippin' good program. Why would I not want to promote it? And if people sign up using my link, then I get a little bit of commission. If I share any equipment or anything like that I use, I'm a part of the Amazon affiliate program or influencer program. So if somebody buys something using one of my links, it doesn't cost the user any extra. It just gives me few pennies of commission. It really isn't much. But other softwares and things that I use, I can potentially sign up for affiliate programs, and you don't need to have reached that threshold before you can start monetizing from affiliate marketing. As the channel grows, there's opportunities for things like sponsorships and brand deals. I'm nowhere near that, and in all honesty, I'm not even sure if that's something that appeals to me. But who knows? Who knows as time goes on? You know, since my brother hit 10,000 subscribers on his channel, he's been approached by lots of companies that he would use and that he likes, and also companies that he wouldn't use, that he said no to. And I don't know if he's making financial income from his sponsorship deals, or if he's just being, you know, provided with equipment to review. I don't know. I haven't really got into that with him. But there's definitely scope there for partnerships and collaborations with brands that can also bring in another source of revenue. The changes they made to YouTube a little while ago meant that they brought down the threshold for some monetization. So now 500 subscribers and I'm there, yay! And 3,000 watch hours over the year, not there yet. Getting there, working on it. When you reach that threshold, you can apply for things like super chats and community Patreon type memberships, and that's another way to monetize the channel. So, you know, that's some of the really good things about YouTube. And even from the AdSense point of view, from what I understand and what I've learned, in terms of sort of revenue share, the split is in favor of the creator on YouTube, which it isn't, I don't think, on any other channel. So the amount that you get from AdSense may not necessarily be huge, but in terms of the proportion that the creator takes compared to YouTube, the creator wins. So it's just, you know, there are so many good things about YouTube that I absolutely love. And before I start talking about some of the bad bits, my final kind of good thing, I think, is that I'm seeing more and more older creators coming onto the channel. And that gives me a lot of confidence that there is an audience out there for us older creators, because chances are I'm not going to appeal to the millennials or the Gen Zs out there, but maybe I appeal to the Gen Xers like I am, and maybe some people who are a little bit older, into the boomers generation. I love the idea of creating this sort of legacy that future generations of my family can watch, and they can see what I was like when I was 58, because they may not know me. I may not even be around when they're watching my videos. So I don't know, there's just something lovely about the fact that older people are getting on and learning all this stuff and doing the stuff. Okay, so let's talk about some of the not so great stuff, because it's not all unicorns and rose petals. Don't even know if that's a saying. There are some downsides to this. One of the biggest downsides, I think, is it is a bloody steep learning curve, and there's so much to learn, you know. And I think back to my first few attempts at, you know, sitting in front of a Zoom screen recording directly into a webcam. Do you know, it did the job and it was okay, but it was never going to be that great. And there is a lot of learning to be done in terms of how to film properly, how to video, how to get decent sound, how to get decent lighting, how to edit. You know, editing in itself is, oh my God, it's if you're somebody like me who has never done anything like that, the learning curve was steep. You know, I think we've probably got it easier than ever, if I'm honest, because AI, makes editing a lot easier, but you still have to learn the basic fundamentals of how to edit video. And even though I don't do huge amounts of editing, it's hard, and the terminology is quite difficult, and it is just a steep learning curve. So there's as I said, there's learning how to frame your videos properly, learning how to set your camera up properly, learning how to tell stories. And then on top of that, you've got things like learning how YouTube works, because it's a complicated platform. There are lots of different aspects to it. Where do you show up? Do you show up in search? Do you show up in recommended? Or do we do shorts? Do we not do shorts? They've now brought in community. So should I be using the community channel? There's a lot to learn, and you can get into a real rabbit hole following different people with different views and different ideas, and that can take you off on a tangent. And you can get really wrapped up in knots around, well, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? And it can be quite demoralizing when every video you make, for me, it was every time I felt like I just got the next bit right, I went backwards on another bit. So I'd get the lighting right, but the sound would be crap. I'd get the sound right, but the framing would be awful. I can't tell you the amount of times that I have recorded a whole video just to find out that there's no volume, or the volume's so poor I can't do anything with it. Or even the last video that I created, I don't know why, but there was this funny light flicker and it looked awful. So it is it's a constant learning curve, and I think it's Mr. Beast that says you're going to suck until you've done at least 100 videos, and I've done more than 100, but a lot of those have been shorts, so I don't count them. But my longer form videos, I'm not up to 100 yet. But he says, your first 100 videos are going to suck, and even after 100, you're still not going to be there. You're not going to be that great. You're going to have to get better and better and better. So it can be really demoralizing when every time you make a new video, you feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. But it's not until you look back at some of the earlier ones that you realize that actually you've made huge progress. I'm still not Hollywood standard by any means, but they're better than they were. And hopefully each time I feel a bit more confident on camera, therefore I come across as a bit more confident, therefore the content is better. And, some will be better than others. Energy levels come into that as well. But the downside is that there is a learning curve, and the reality is you can't shortcut that. Yes, you could probably outsource your video editing if you've got the funds for that. But to me, I think in order to outsource your editing, you've got to have a fundamental idea of what good filmmaking looks like for your editor to have any chance of making something decent with it. So you've got to do the learning, you've got to put the time and the hours in to really get to understand all of this stuff. The second bad stuff bit is that it's not quick. I think for most people it is a slow marathon. It's definitely not a sprint. I'm sure there are creators out there who fly, who just jump on, and within a couple of weeks they've got their 1,000 subscribers, and then they're flying, and they're probably up to the tens or hundreds of thousands really quickly. But I think that they're the exception rather than the rule. And I think the reality is you've got to be in it for the long haul, and you've got to be willing to be patient, and you've got to be willing to put in a hell of a lot of time and effort for very, very little return on your investment. It's going to feel like you're wading through treacle until you start to see any kind of traction. And I don't even know if I'm there yet. There's something in my mind that's thinking when I hit the 1,000 subscribers, maybe it'll be like that snowball has just got to the top of the mountain and it's starting to roll down, and it may pick up some momentum. But I don't know. So if you're not prepared for the long journey, it's probably not the right thing for you to do. But if you're willing to trust that it's a learning curve, it's a long game, that you aren't going to see any real movement for, probably for the first, I don't know how long. I've been doing this over a year, and I'm still waiting for that traction to happen. You've got to enjoy what you're doing, because if you don't enjoy it, then you're never going to stick it out when it gets challenging. And it is a slow growth. It doesn't have to be a slow growth to revenue though, and I think this is a lesson that I've learned. You don't have to have a massive subscriber count to appeal to the right people. I've had a couple of people so far, even with just 500 and odd subscribers, who've come through to me from my YouTube channel, and they've bought from me, so I've made sales as a result of my YouTube channel. So you don't have to wait till it grows massive before you can start monetizing, especially if you sell your own products or your own services. But don't expect it to be a fast marketing route. It really isn't. I think the biggest barrier is that it is a time suck. It really is hard work to fit in thinking about your video ideas, sketching out your video ideas, scripting them if that's your thing. I've certainly spent time in the past literally scripting word for word and then reading from a teleprompter. I don't do that now because it never felt particularly natural. But by the time you've sketched it out, written it out, planned it out, set up your recording equipment, recorded it again because you forgot to hit the microphone or whatever it might be, recorded it again because you didn't like the first take, then spent hours editing it and creating thumbnails and all of the other stuff that goes into it. It is a time suck. It really, really is. So I guess that's another reason why you've got to be really willing to be in it for the long haul, because you're going to have to put the hours in. Even if you outsource your editing, you're still going to have to take time to prepare for the video, record the video, and the ideation of it. So it is a time suck, but it's worth it. It can also get pretty expensive. If you're like me, you will probably be of the opinion that if I just get another bit of equipment, if I just get the better camera or the better microphone or better lighting, then my videos will be better. But the reality is, actually, you don't need expensive equipment. Most of us have got a really good phone, or rather a really good camera in our pockets on our phone. And to get started, you really don't need anything more than your mobile phone. And even editing software, if you use something like CapCut, it's free and, you don't have to spend a fortune. But if you are like me, I do have a tendency to be a bit of a gadget queen. So I don't even want to admit how much money I've spent on different microphones. I've probably got about 8 different microphones. I've got a GoPro camera. I've got a Nikon Z30 camera. That's an APS-C mirrorless camera that actually I don't really understand how to use it, so I don't use it very much. I was gifted a OBSBot Taylor 4K camera that does all sorts of stuff like tracking, and it's really good. Thankfully, I didn't pay for that one. But I've just spent so much money on equipment. I've got so many different lights and I could go on and on and on. And you do not need it. In reality, to get started, the things that I would definitely say you need are your camera and the rear camera if possible. But even that's not a deal breaker. If you want to use the front camera, go for it. I would probably invest in an external microphone if something like the DJi remote mics, but they're quite expensive. But it does mean that if you want to film yourself and you want to move away from your camera, you can do, because otherwise you won't pick up the volume if you're filming from a distance. But you don't need it. If all you're going to be doing is sort of head to camera type stuff, you don't need an external microphone. And a decent tripod. I would buy a tripod. And that's it. You don't really need posh lighting as long as you can get a bit of natural daylight. So that can be a downside if, like me, you think the answer to everything is just to throw money at it. Don't do that. Don't be that person. Final sort of the bad points, I guess. It's emotionally challenging. The self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, the questioning, am I good enough? Do I know enough? Is this good enough quality? What will people think? What if people see it and judge me? What if people don't see it? What if people I know see it? What if people I don't know see it and don't like me? Oh my God, you've just got this whole raft of emotions that are going to come up. And I think it happens to everybody. So you've kind of just got to suck it up. But it is challenging and it never goes away, I don't think. people I've spoken to, even people who've got, bigger channels, still get that same level of self-doubt. You're kind of questioning yourself all the time. Am I getting any better? Is this good enough? So if you're not emotionally resilient, it's going to be a challenge. But I think that the benefits certainly outweigh the downsides. The pros outweigh the cons, because there's so much reward from doing this, and the personal growth that you get from getting better with YouTube totally outweighs the self-doubt and the worry. But just be aware that self-doubt and worry is likely going to be there, and it's pretty much there for all of us. Okay, I'm going to finish this one off in the car. I've just had the biggest scare because I walked away from the park bench where I was recording and couldn't find my car keys, and I'd only gone from the car to the park bench to the park bench to the car. Anyway, a very nice man had picked them up, and he saw me looking, and he's just returned my car keys. So now that I've calmed down, I just want to wrap this up with some of the things that I would do differently if I was starting out from scratch again, even though I haven't been going that long. So it's not like I'm 10 years experienced in this, but I thought I'd just share some of the things that I would do differently while they're still fresh in my mind, because I haven't been doing this that long. So number one, I would start with the most simple setup possible, and I would stay with that simple setup until I was confident enough that I was ready to upgrade. And that simple setup for me would literally just be my phone, a tripod, and a decent remote microphone. The second thing I would do is I would join something like Primal Video Accelerator much sooner, pretty much right from the start, because I went into it a year into having another channel and having started a second channel and having to then unlearn everything that I'd kind of done. And I think if I'd just gone in right from the start with something like Primal Video, they take you step by step through everything, and I just think that would have been much easier than trying to sort of backtrack on what I was doing. The third thing I would do is, if you've ever watched anything by Think Media, Sean Cannell always says you've got to just hit record. And I think that is true. And to be honest, that is what I did first time round. I didn't overthink it too much. I literally did just get on Zoom and hit record. And that is definitely something that I would do again, because we can get into this analysis paralysis. And in some ways, that overthinking has got more prevalent as I've gone on. I think I had a bit of naivety in the beginning where I just thought, well, I'll just hit record and start. And there's an awful lot to be said for that. What I didn't do in the beginning that I would do now is I would have some sort of framework or script. I don't think I'd go to the depths of scripting every word, because I've always felt reasonably comfortable talking to camera. But if you're really uncomfortable, script it out so you've got something to work from. But don't let self-doubt or, concern about whether it's going to be good enough or not stop you. Just hit record and get going, because you can only get better by doing. You can't get better by thinking about it. You can't get better by teaching yourself. You've kind of got to take action and do it. So that's what I would do again. I did it first time round, and I would do it again. I would just hit record, but this time I would do it with some sort of plan in place for each video. The other thing I would do if I was starting again, I would start with the intention of being much more consistent and regular in my video production, uploading, recording, etc., the whole workflow, because without a plan, without that kind of blocked out time goes so quickly that it's 2, 3, 4 weeks before you posted your last video. And from what I understand, the YouTube algorithm favors regular, frequent, up-to-date content. So if I was starting again, I would start out more intentionally. I would set out with the goal of producing one video every week. I wouldn't do what I did in the beginning, which was make them way too long. And I know this is a long one, so stick with me here. The majority of my videos now tend to be between 7 and 25 minutes. They're not normally as long as this one. And remember, the longer the video, the more editing, the longer it takes to record. The amount of time in this video won't be anywhere near as long as is the actual recorded content, because I will have chopped it right down in editing, and that takes a lot of time. So I know this is going to be a longer one than normal, but keep them reasonably short for your own benefit, but also most people, I don't think, really want to watch longer videos, so I don't expect you to still be watching this, to be honest. Who knows, maybe you will be. But that would be my other tip, is to set up a decent workflow right from the start and have a good intention to be consistent. I would experiment more and worry less. Definitely worry less about what people think, whether it's good enough or whether I'm getting it right. I would just do it. And this is something I'm still working on, is to try and take some of the emotion out of the process and just have fun with it, because it is a lot of fun. I think that's one of the things I love most about YouTube, is it's good fun, and it can be a little bit awkward, like today when you're out and about. I've been trying to film outside just because, and it's laziness if I'm honest, because if I'm outside in the sunlight I don't have to worry about setting up lighting or anything like that. So it can be a little bit embarrassing, but it is such good fun. And I've actually had some really good conversations with people who have been curious about what it is I'm doing. Probably wouldn't be so curious, I don't think, if I was much younger, but because I'm an older woman, they're like, what's she up to? The other thing that I would do if I was starting again is I would worry far less about growth. I think it's good to understand the analytics, and I'm not an analytical person. It is something that now, with more than 500 people on the channel, subscribers, and more content on there, I'm starting to think more about understanding the analytics. In the early days, I didn't really have any interest in analytics, other than I was obsessed with the view numbers and if I was getting any subscribers, almost to the point where it was becoming a bit of an obsession. The problem was I wasn't really doing anything with that information other than stressing about it. It wasn't like I was looking at my views, looking at the content, analysing which bit of the content people were liking, where they were dropping off. I wasn't analysing watch time, for example. So I may have been getting views, but how long were people actually watching the video? I didn't do any of that. And that's something that I think I need to start doing more of now. But in the early days, I shouldn't have been obsessed with any of that. I should have been more obsessed with putting out content and learning how to create videos, and I got my priorities wrong there. So if I was doing this again from scratch, I would ignore the analytics. I wouldn't be bothered about how many people were subscribing or I wouldn't even be that bothered about views for the first 20 videos, I don't think. I think I would just be kind of getting out and getting comfortable making videos, getting comfortable with the process, learning how to edit, because I think that's the most important thing in the early days, and the rest will follow. But yes, I do think now I need to be getting better at understanding the analytics, but not in the early days. Okay, wow, so that was a big video, a big chunky video, and you probably, I don't know, if you're still here, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And if you are still here and you haven't given me a like or a subscribe, do me a favour and just do that, because if you haven't done that, it does help with the algorithm, and it will help me when I'm checking my analytics to have some data to work with. All right. I would say if you're on the fence about whether or not to start a YouTube channel, especially if you're an older person like I am, just go for it. You never know, you might love it. Until next time, talk to you soon.